Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome here to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com. I am, as always, I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, here joined with the Dope Doctor. Let me go ahead and pull him up here. What's up, man? How are you doing today?
Good, brother. Just busy, I guess.
Yeah, man, I felt, what y'all don't realize is we go live on Facebook prior to recording all this stuff for you people and putting it out there for your enjoyment. And so some of you who join early are able to hear all sorts of fun things that happened prior to. Not the least of which was his excitement, enthusiasm prior to. He was just going on and on, and I was like, dude, you got to stop talking so much. We're getting ready to go live. So
Wait a minute. Of all the things that happened before today's show,
I don't even know how to
that's
explain that part, so
that's
I'm
what you
going to leave it
chose to
out.
talk about. Wait. Time out. That's what you chose to talk about.
I don't
Not
even
the
know how to
fact that your
explain
wife
that part.
came in and said what she said, which I encourage everybody. If you're watching this, go to the Facebook page. Like if you're watching this later on, go to the Facebook page, WPSN99.com. Find this show, hit from the beginning, and watch what you missed. Because
Yeah,
that, my friend, was classic.
that was my
And
lovely
I will
wife.
be saving that. I
Yes,
will be saving that
yes,
piece.
yes. That was
But
my
that's
lovely
funny.
wife
That,
making her presence known.
whew,
Good times.
angel be an angel, and I love you. That's why you're
Exactly.
our angel, Angel.
You know the funny part though is everybody sees like her
The nice side.
yeah, basically they say when they see like at work or whatever, they're like, oh my god, she's such a sweetheart. I'm over here like, okay. Like, yeah, she got another side, everybody.
Yeah,
And I am lucky
yeah,
enough to see that quite frequently.
yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Well, first and foremost, thank you guys for tuning in and watching, listening, however you're, consuming the show. I appreciate it. He appreciates it. We all appreciate it. Make sure you guys like us, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. Share it with your friends. If you listen to a podcast, awesome. Thank you. Share that as well. And one of the many reasons why we're able to do this, other than just the facilities that support us that you saw in the beginning of the show, but it's also, as you can see behind his head, as always, is the Now Matters More Foundation, of which he is the founder. I am the president. We help individuals who are struggling with the disease of addiction, be it helping them find the place that's best for them, be it scholarshiping funds, or be it just kind of breaking down the stigma and letting people know that they're humans. That's kind of how we operate. You can find out more about who we are at nowmattersmore.org. You can donate there, you can fill out an application, or you can just kind of stalk us and see who we are and what we're about. Or you can call 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters, and we'll help you verbally. So,
Just don't throw a brick at my head.
well, hey, as long as it's your head, not mine, I'm somewhat okay with that.
It'll bounce off your head.
Yeah, you never know, man. I'm not sure. But anyway, so today's topic, man, it's about hope, right? And I do have an agenda, right? I have two reasons why I wanted to do this subject today. And normally in all honesty, a lot of times we'll find out literally prior to going on live what we're going to be talking about. That's just kind of how we roll. We try to address things that are happening daily, and so in doing so, the world changes minute by minute. So we like to be flexible sometimes, and if something's happening today, we like to talk about it. However, this one kind of hit me last night. I didn't tell him until today, but it hit me last night. I was laying in bed and just trying to think of different things, and hope really kind of came to my mind because we have an event coming up September 26th. Write it down or save it. September 26th. We as the Now Matters More Foundation have teamed up with Orange County Drug Free Office, and we're going to do a 24-hour streamathon essentially. For my elderly population, it's a telethon, but it's more of a streaming thing, right? So we're updating it and taking it in today's world, and it's going to be combined with our yearly recovery walk that we do, but it's going to be a virtual walk. And essentially, the reason for it is trying to just provide hope, to those who are struggling with addiction. In addition to provide hope to the families, right? The families who are in it with them. That sometimes it could feel overwhelming. It could feel like there's no way out. It could feel like there's no solution. And that's kind of what we do, right? Is we provide solutions. Hence the problem solving network, right? And then I got to thinking that yes, I would like to promote that event. By all means, I think everybody should kind of pay attention and look into it. But in addition to just the addiction world itself, obviously this is a show about spirituality and trying to how to deal with things. I think hope is really needed in today's world. I think it's very easy in today's world to find things to be stressed about or to be. I mean, right now as I'm talking, man, there's two hurricanes in the Gulf that I just found out this morning. Actually, that one of them actually is going to be a Category 3 potentially when it hits. Originally, it was just two ones, which yes, they're absolutely a problem. But being a Floridian, I usually laugh off ones if I'm honest. Having said that, if you're on the coast, the one is absolutely serious and you should take it seriously.
Let's
But
qualify that. Let's qualify that first, Trinity. Being a Floridian, not on the coast and
yes,
in a brick home
yes,
or a
yes.
block home, all those
Yeah,
things make
absolutely,
you a little bit more
absolutely.
comfortable.
Yeah, so I mean, if
But
you're
if
on the
you're on
coast,
stilts, if you're on stilts
yeah,
on the
yeah, if
coast,
you're on the coast, or if you're in a mobile home or something like that, even a one
yeah,
you should take seriously.
yeah,
Having said that, when it starts getting up there, threes and fours, they're a problem for pretty much everybody. So, my heart goes out to everybody who's in the in the affected areas, which I think is
yeah.
going to be Louisiana and some Texas.
Uh,
My heart goes
maybe.
out to you guys, man. Hunker down, prepare, do what you got to do. I love you guys, but you probably shouldn't be watching this show right now. You should probably be doing what you got to do.
How do you even prepare in Louisiana?
I don't even know, man. I would like to think that they've made some
Call your
adjustments
realtor and see
since,
how fast can I get rid of
yeah,
this house?
right. But anyways, so aside
Uh,
from Corona and even the two hurricanes we get ready to hit, there's so much other stuff, man. I mean, and just yesterday or a couple days ago, there's another shooting happened up in Wisconsin. There's just so many things right now, and there's so much disagreement, so much infighting, so much vitriol and just anger that I do believe that in certain circles hope is being lost, and I think that's a shame. Because at the end of the day, I do think that's one of the things that makes humans so fantastic is our ability to have hope, our ability to think positive and envision and dream things, right? Before we get too far into it, you got any immediate thoughts or anything you want to share, even addressing the Hope-a-thon?
well, first of all, thank you very much for addressing the Hope-a-thon. Um,
You're welcome.
I am one of those elderly population people that you're speaking of, and I know you're not a huge fan of the idea of the 24-hour telethon, but I appreciate that you, as the president of the foundation, and now that is more foundation, or kind of, helping put this all together with Orange County. I'm happy for you and the board. Thank you guys for very much for supporting this because I do want to do it, and I think that it's important.
I think it's necessary. I do. I agree
I
with you.
think it's important to share messages of hope because all the time, man. Look. Bottom line, Trinity, is when we get on when addiction is on TV, when this subject is on television, it's because somebody screwed somebody over, somebody ripped somebody off, somebody got shot, somebody shot somebody is overdosing, somebody died.
Yep.
It's always negative, but there's millions of us that are in recovery and in remission. And so we need to come out of the closet and let people know, look, we exist. Those of us that are successful moms, dads, grandparents, business people, doctors, lawyers, we're out here, and we need to let people know that recovery is possible because there's a lot of family members and there's a lot of people with addiction that are just hopeless a lot of times and
Yep.
feeling like, man, does it ever get better? And the only time they ever see somebody that that they look up to and be like, wow, I can't believe that person actually had the ailment that I have, is if they get into the rooms of recovery where they meet somebody like that,
Right.
if it's talked about. So I think it's important to go mainstream, which is what we're doing. We're going mainstream. We're going on all social medias, but also it's pretty cool. And hopefully there's at least there's a local television station that's saying that they'll air it 24 hours. So we'll report that when we know. But if that's true, then we'll be 24 hours on old-fashioned television too, Trinity.
the tele.
Old-fashioned television.
Yeah, man, I gotta say I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be awesome. And when
Stand the same, Dan.
I'm hearing some of the names that are gonna be associated with us doing this, and I think it's gonna be a really cool thing.
Well, I can report a couple of that already committed. Daryl Strawberry obviously committed. He was the first to commit and says, absolutely, whatever you guys want to do, I'm in. He will be live from St. Louis, Missouri. Our good buddy
Right on.
will be on Pinkland Thomas, two-time world heavyweight champion. He's already committed and said yes, so we can at least report those.
Right on. And I have reached out to some other people. I don't want to say their names and get people fired up and have them not be able to make it. But I feel pretty excited. I think they're going to say yes, to be honest with you. But it's some really cool names and some names that you haven't heard associated with us either, by the way. So it's going to be pretty cool. But
Hmm.
so let's talk about hope, man. Like,
Okay.
you know, I have definitely experienced moments of hopelessness. I really have, right? Like, not very
Yeah.
many, thankfully.
Yeah.
I've been a relatively optimistic person my whole life, but I have run into moments, no matter how short they might have appeared, I guess. But I've had moments, or at least thoughts, I'll say, where I've had thoughts of hopelessness. I see it in so many other people, right? Like, it's so easy to get stuck in your own kind of misery almost, or in the current circumstances, and then we like, kind of start to fill in that narrative of like this is going to be forever, right? And I think we said it a couple weeks ago, but I'll say it again here, obviously, and that is I've seen it a lot, like in relationships, even, right? Like I did it myself in my own marriage. I've seen so many other people do it when I watch some of these programs where you'll have this momentary argument or this momentary disagreement with your spouse, and then especially if you're early in a marriage or early in a relationship, you'll start to say to yourself, well, I can't do this forever. Like, you'll have this instant thought that this one stupid little disagreement that you're having over something ridiculously small is somehow indicative of what the rest of your life in marriage is going to be, right? And to me, that's a form of hopelessness, is because
Right.
you forget the positive side of things. Or
Right.
if you're in the middle of struggling financially, let's say, right? Like, obviously relationships recover, but let's say you're going through COVID right now, and you start to think to yourself, "Gosh, dude, are we ever going to get back to normal? No, this is always going to be this way." Or let's say you're one of the unfortunate individuals who no longer has a job after all this COVID stuff hit. You could start to get into this idea that, I'm never going to find another job anymore. Like, all these bad things are going to take place. I'm never going to recover. Like, it's so easy to fall into that kind of despair almost, where you think that your current circumstances are it and you can't see a way out.
Well,
And, and,
even if
and
it's not ever Trinity, I mean, it could just be this is not going to recover in time.
yeah,
I didn't
that
mean
too.
to off, but I
Well, no,
mean,
that too.
even if you're not thinking never, will it recover before I can't
Right?
keep it together
Yeah.
anymore?
Well, and the other thing along with that, right? So the other side of it is sometimes when you're in those thought processes, when
Mm.
somebody comes along and tries to tell you to think in a more positive fashion, or maybe they are in their own life, you can start to get like aggressive towards them, even like, well,
Yeah.
you don't know, you don't understand, or you don't have my life, or it's easy for you to say, or all these other things, right? As if we own the patent on suffering, right? Like,
Yes.
just you don't have my suffering, so therefore you don't know suffering. Like, and I've even seen that too, right? There's an ongoing joke where a lot of people say, like, you can't stand the positive person early in the morning. Oh, they make me sick, whatever. Like, I've heard that a lot.
My wife tells me that. Well, not specifically like that, but she's like,
Sure.
she just looks at me and she goes, "You're such a morning person."
Yeah, right. And so I think that that's the overall point that I want to get across today as we get further into this is hope is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Hope is a God. Hope is awesome, man. It really is. Like that, I can't tell you, man. As somebody who grew up in less than desirable circumstances at times, and then as I was going through my growing pains in life and
Mm.
experienced some of the awakenings that life starts to kind of hand you, especially in your adolescent years and your early adult ages. Dude, there was many a days where if it wasn't for hope, I wouldn't be here right now. Like that, I had these. I
Nobody.
remember, yeah, man. Like I remember, God, how many? I don't know how many people listening right now can relate, but like my buddy Terrence, man, when him and I were working at the postal service and just kind of like struggling to adapt to what that was giving us, and we were dreaming of better. How many times him and I would sit down, and I think I even still have it, and I know for a fact you and I have done this as well, where you sit down with your friend and you literally like take over the world on a napkin. You pull out a napkin and you just start dreaming of things and you just writing it down and you take over the world and you change everything. And even if that doesn't come to fruition, still it's those moments that get you through to the next day. It's just
Yeah.
this glimmer of hope of, hey, it can get
Yeah.
better. Like I could do
They're,
something.
they're magical.
Yeah, man. And I think that that's what people lose sometimes when you kind of get into this despair is first of all, despair is contagious, right? Like When you start to have one thought, woof, a couple more just instantly come right on in, and then you
Right.
share it with everybody. And next thing you know, the whole room is just angry, you know. But at the same token, hope can also be contagious as well.
Well, that's the thing. It takes nothing to inspire people to be
Yeah.
angry. It really
And
doesn't.
no, it
I mean,
doesn't.
if you want to be a leader in anger, anybody can do it. You can go
Yeah.
anywhere. I can go to any bar right now and just start bitching and complaining about my wife, right?
Yep.
And I can just be, women this and women
Yep.
that. And bro, I would get that whole bar riled
Oh,
up
you'd be the
easily.
hero of the room.
Yeah, but you go in there and try to inspire hope, man. Hey, man, let's be good men to our women and let's be respectful and loving.
Yeah.
Who likes to cuddle? Who likes to cuddle?
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's like anything positive is just like so hard. So I think it's really hard for leaders to even understand this. It's hard for anyone to become a leader of hope, and that's what makes people like the Martin Luther King Juniors of the world so spectacular.
Yeah.
And I think people misconstrue what those kind of movements are about, like a Nelson Mandela or something like that, a Gandhi.
Right.
They tend to misconstrue what that really is, and they misuse that person's leadership for their own little missions. And it's like, well, wait a minute, yours is more of hate and anger and frustration. And even though these individuals probably experience some of those same emotions, their messaging, their whole vibe, and their whole movement is about hope. And Trinity, you're dead on, man. We need a lot more hope and actual real love, and exhibiting that not only to ourselves but to other people, instead of the anger and frustration that meant what you like you said, Trinity. You think you guys own frustration?
Yeah.
Right? You think because I can't go around, Trinity, and just say, because I'm Mexican, Trinity, you don't understand me. You don't understand my pains and my frustrations.
Right.
Because that's just so nearsighted.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be able to identify their abuse or their pain or their hurt in their own way without you having a one.
Except for that one dude. Except for that one person.
This.
Yeah.
That one dude, but it's not me. I'm not that
No, I'm
one
not
dude.
that person either.
There is somebody on this planet,
Yes.
Trinity. You're absolutely
Yes.
right. Who is the worst of the worst and had the worst life
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
But it's probably not somebody that has a computer
No.
or internet or
No,
anything.
if you're listening to this or watching this, you don't qualify
You're not the
immediately.
one. Yeah. If you can hear us right now and watch us, you're not the worst ever.
No.
But you're somebody.
Well, and for those who are just tuning into us for the first time, that's our ongoing joke that we talk about sometimes. Is everybody's always like, "Oh, well, you have it worse than me," or whatever. And there's always somebody that has it worse. Except for there's got to if there's always somebody that has it worse, then there's got to be that one person walking around that is the worst of the worst. So that's our ongoing kind of joke, and none of us are that person, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I just hope is cool, man. It really is. It's not cool to say sometimes, I guess, in certain
Is that a bumper?
circles.
Is that your next bumper sticker?
It is, right?
Hope is cool. I'm gonna get you a shirt that just says "Hope is cool."
It is, though, right? Like
It's that simple, right?
it's like that dirty secret, right? That everybody wants to like. Everybody benefits from it, and everybody secretly likes it, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to admit. Like you said earlier, you said, "Oh, who wants to cuddle?" Right? But there's people out there. I don't cuddle. Bullshit. There ain't a human being on the planet that doesn't like the human touch, right? There's oxytocin released and everything else. Like, we're designed for that. Like, shut up. But the same thing with hope, right? Like, hope is always like it's uncool to be positive. It's uncool to hope for better things. Or, and we talked about this earlier off air. The other thing with hope too sometimes is it's not they misuse it, right? So it's not that I hope things get better. It's I hope they change or I hope they come around. Well, that's not really hope, right? That's more of a controlling type of thing. Your quote unquote hope is that person will see that you're so right and suddenly get it. It's not really hope, right? That's kind of a manipulative thing. Hope is positive through and through. Hope is, hey, you know what? I hope things get better. I hope that we're able to achieve this or get to this or get to that point. And regardless of how we get there, right? Hope is more about the end goal, not the means necessarily. So, like, if you're in a disagreement with somebody, the hope should be that you guys can find common ground, not that person will agree with you. You know, if the common ground turns out that they do agree with you or you agree with them, so be it. But at the end of the day, the hope is a solution as opposed to the journey itself, right? because I see that a lot, especially right now with all the stuff that's torn down the middle, and there's so many,
Right.
this or that type of arguments at the moment, and the quote unquote hope that I'm seeing from people is typically, well, I hope you guys see it, and it's like, how about we hope we get to
Yeah,
a resolution?
that's not it. Yeah, that's a misuse of the word.
Yeah, man.
Personally, I see. Here's the kind of hope that I just carry with me every day. I really, I just hope that I can stay on the path that I'm on, of positivity and change and loving another person,
Yeah.
and hopefully I don't allow these distractions that we're seeing and all this hate and frustration and burning and stealing and name calling to affect my passion and to affect my loving of other people. You know, you've heard me say millions of times, I'm sure, Trinity, I don't need you to respect me for me to respect you. I don't
Exactly.
need you to be kind to me for me to be kind to you. I don't need you to love me for me to love you. I do that stuff because it's the right thing to do, first of all, but I also do them because by me doing them, then I'm fulfilling my purpose. I'm doing what I can do to be a better person for myself, for my family, for my community, for everyone, because I've chosen this path, right? So this is a choice. Now, if I, it's too easy for anyone, not just me, not just you, Trinity. It's too easy for anyone to be negative and show our frustration and be volatile and be part of the problem. You and I have chosen to be part of the solution. And all we want to do is encourage other people just to be part of the solution by focusing on what you can do. And there's so much more beautiful in this world than ugly. You know what I've been noticing that a lot of people on their social media have been posting more things of just a flower or a rainbow or a sunset or a sunrise. Great job. Great
Yeah.
job. Because all you're doing, what you're doing is you're taking just a beautiful moment out of your day, something beautiful or something that you saw within that day, and that's what you chose to post. Of all the things that happened during the day, of all the news that you've heard, of all the breaking news, and this has happened, you chose to focus on something just really beautiful and simple.
I'm
And I
laughing.
think that's really cool.
I'm laughing because my last post wasn't of a sunrise or a rainbow.
What was it?
My
What was it?
wife, my wife decided to take. She's a crafty individual, and she's
Yeah.
always working on something.
Is it the little butts, the cat butts?
The last thing that she worked on was magnets with cat butts on them. That's what I decided to post because I thought it was funny, right?
It is
But the
beautiful.
same concept,
A
though,
cat's
right?
butt is beautiful. How else do you tell if a cat's male or female? From their butt. So it's beautiful.
Okay, sure. But my point is, I posted that for the same reason, right? I try to bring a laugh, for the same reason why I do like crazy cards for birthdays. I'm trying to bring a laugh, man. Like life is too
That's
short to be so angry and serious all the time.
right.
And the thing with hope, the reason why I love hope so much is it does, man. It gives you, it is like a high almost for some people. Like
It's a
this,
high for me.
yeah, it's the ability to think of better, and taking it from a spiritual perspective, even,
Yeah.
everything is impermanent. And that's what we don't realize sometimes is everything is impermanent, and that is both a beautiful thing and a disturbing thing for some people, right? And what I mean by that is when we think of negative things that we don't like, the idea that it's impermanent is like a wonderful feeling. This idea that it's going to pass, no matter how bad
Yeah.
it is, it will stop. But the
Yeah.
thing we often forget too, though, is even the positive things and the things that you enjoy are also impermanent, right? So there's built-in disappointment in anything good because it can't last forever, no matter what it is. It's going to stop.
Right.
If you're enjoying a night out with friends, well, eventually people are gonna have to go home and go to sleep. Well, it's going to stop at some point, and that to me is the beauty of life. And it took me a while to get to that point from in my spiritual journey, but that is the beauty. Is everything is impermanent, good or bad. So enjoy it. Even enjoy the negative parts of it because that's helping you understand that it's not always going to be positive and great, and it helps you appreciate the good things that much more. But for
Yeah.
me, that's what enables me to constantly dream of more. Like, dude, there's so many things that are possible in this world, man. I mean, look at where we're at as a society compared to just 500 years ago. 500 years ago, it was a much different planet and world that we were living on. And look at so many things that have happened. That didn't happen because everybody was pissed off and angry. That was happened because people had hope of something better and decided to create it or invest their time or their money or their energy into it. And then boom, beautiful things happen. I'm old enough, and I know you are. I'm old enough to remember where like I had like a beeper on me. You know what I mean? Or like if I wanted to make a phone call, I had to find a phone or get some money. Dude, we have everything in our pocket these days. You know what I mean? Like if you would have told me 20 years ago that I was going to be able to do all the things I could do from this thing in my pocket, I would have laughed at you. But that to me is the end result of hope. is somebody had, you know what, we could do something better. Why not? And there's probably people who were designing these things that said, oh, that's never going to happen. You're wasting your time. But they had enough hope to stick with it. And then look what happened. It changed the world. Same thing with all of us, right? Like there's been moments in all of our days, you know, not necessarily as severe as that, but there's been moments where you didn't have, like, how many people in your life have surprised you? How many people in your life you thought that they were going to say or do something, or there was going to be some sort of inevitable result, and they proved you wrong, right? Like how many people that just in that little tiny thing, you know, and that to me is the essence of hope. Is it can always get better, man. It really can.
You and I both know somebody who like great. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's been a part of my life for many, 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 many years. And every time something good starts happening in his life, he always starts talking like, I can't wait to show those people, man. So they can see, and it's always, and his motive, I can see behind his motive. And I always tell him, I said, listen, the only person that I focus on when I start doing something that I think is good and it gets traction is I get to prove to myself that all the hard work and all the energy and all the positivity that I work on a daily basis is actually going to do something. I don't need to prove to you or anybody else. See, I tell them, your problem is that you're focusing on proving to the outside people in the outside world that you're valid and that you're a good person and that you deserve this. You need to prove it to yourself, and that's it. And when you do that, when you and that's not being selfish, when you do that and you just prove to yourself, what it does is it gives you further energy to do it again. Mm-hmm. And it gives you more energy to keep going on the good path that you're going, because you see it all around you, and it's infectious, man. And the people that I know today, like yourself, and there's so many people that I hang out with in today's world, and the people that know me, and some of those of you that are watching this right now or listening to this right now, the reason we communicate is because we're all like-minded in certain things and positive. We wouldn't be like this if I would have fed the wrong animal, you know what I mean? But because you feed the hope animal inside you, that's the reason I know you. So it's like you're fishing with a different lure, right? And I like to fish with the hope lure and throw that into the water. And what I get is the right people around me instead of sitting there just complaining about how horrible people are. And I've been there. I've been in a position where I said, oh, people suck. The world sucks. Life sucks. Yeah. Well, yeah, when you're part of the suckiness, yes, it does. Yeah. But when you're part of the goodness part of it and the honest part of it, you can't look around and says people suck unless you can look at yourself and go, well, I'm a person. That means I suck. Well, I don't want to suck. I don't want to be that part that you can look at and say, man, that person can't be dependent on either. I want to be somebody you can depend on. So I got to be somebody that I can depend on in order for that to be possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other way to think about it, right, is like for instance, my kids sometimes, though I'll ask them when I would pick them up from school. I had this little routine. I actually did it with your daughter too. It was like, how was your day? What did you learn today? Things like that. One of the questions was, how was your day? And too many times my kids would say, oh, it was a bad day. And I was like, really? Your whole day was bad? Like, what happened? And they would proceed to give me this like 8-second interaction. And I was like, really? That doesn't sound like your day was bad. That sounds like that moment was bad. And so now, like, I've done that so much with them that when I would ask them how your day is, they say, oh, well, it was good. It was good. There was a couple moments I didn't like. And so because I was trying to retrain them to realize your whole day wasn't bad, right? Yeah. There's just a couple moments in this day. It's like taking a Ferrari and giving it back because there's like a ding in the door. Like, it's still a Ferrari, man. You might just have a ding in it, but it's still a Ferrari, right? And so if we think about it in those terms, there's so much more to be grateful about. Like, if you realize our days, like, how many things have to actually go right for us to live a day? Like, as you pointed out numerous times, we're all successful, right? Like, we live. There's so many things in this world that want to kill us, right? Like the temperature,
all around
dehydration, other people, plants, animals. There's a lot. It's a dangerous world out there, and yet we manage to make it through by making good, sound decisions every day. Like, hey, there's a bus. I'm not going to step in front of it. Survived. I won. And there's so many things, though, that have to go right throughout the entire day. From our physical person, all the synapses have to fire correctly for us to wake up and have consciousness. Our muscles all have to, operate correctly for us to move and get out of the bed and do the things that we do and breathe. And then all the things that have to be present and working properly for us to have a roof over our head and eat some breakfast this morning and do whatever, go to work, come back and have. There are so many things that have to go right in order for us to just make it through the day.
Exactly.
And technically, the things that quote unquote go wrong, they didn't really go wrong, right? They just didn't go according to our expectations.
Right.
And the world is not here, nor our people. None of that is here to live up to our expectations. So it's not them that needs to change, it's our expectations. It's how we approach the situation. And to me, that's where the hope comes in. Because if it's all about perspective, I can change that at any given moment. No matter what's happening in my life, no matter what I'm experiencing, I am in control on how I respond to something at every second. It doesn't matter that 10 minutes ago I was angry and frustrated and thought the world was going to end. I can right now change and say, you know what, the world's not going to end. Things are getting better.
Or it didn't end.
Exactly.
Close your eyes and open them back up again and realize, wow, that little bit of time that I closed my eyes and opened them back up, somebody closed their eyes and they didn't get to open them back up.
Yeah.
I live for everybody that's not living today. That's the key, man. There's a lot of people with my disease that have since passed. They didn't get to die or they didn't get to live or experience all the joys that I've experienced. So I have to live for them, or else I'm not grateful for it. You know what I mean? And I want to be deserving of it. I don't want to walk around anymore feeling unworthy or undeserving. I used to say, when people say, you know, how you doing? I used to say, better than I deserve. You know, and I thought that was really cool because I got it from somebody and I really liked it when I heard it. And then I started realizing what I was saying, and I was like, no, I deserve it. I work for this. And you know, there's a lot. I make so many more better decisions in a day than my bad decisions.
Yeah, of course.
The problem is that my brain sometimes wants to focus on the few, and sometimes the outside world wants to too. Focus on the few bad decisions that we make, rather than all the good decisions that we make. And like you mentioned, Trinity, I mean, I get up and you know, I live where I have different levels in my house. You know, it may look cool to man. It would be cool to jump all the way down. You know, because it's like 3 stories down, right? From my
if you do that, please record it, by the way.
But the good side of my head says probably not a good idea today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like to, like, when I'm sitting in my Corona Killer 5000 in the morning and I do my meditation, I go under the water a little bit. But when I come, my brain might think you could stay underwater a little bit longer, and my brain goes, no, you probably will drown if you stay here. Don't breathe in. So there's so many little micro decisions that just naturally you do. Just think of all the natural good decisions that you make. You look both ways before you cross the road. You put your blinker on before you move lanes. You know, you look over your shoulder. Now, you may think, well, of course I do that. That's normal. No, some people don't, and some people didn't, and sometimes we don't, and therefore we have an accident, or like we stub our toe. You know, sometimes we have an error, but think of all the times you don't. You know, but no, you will focus on the one time you stub your toe and think, damn it, I'm such a klutz. But not normally. If you were a klutz every time, you wouldn't even have toes. You know what I mean? You'd be running into everything all the time. You know?
Well, it reminds me of there's I don't know, I would call it a meme, I guess, but is where like a teacher went onto the chalkboard and wrote down the 9 times tables, and you know, 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, so on and so forth. But when he got to the very end, when he got to 9 times 10, he put 9 times 10 is 99, right? And then the whole class was looking at it, and I can't take credit for this. Obviously, it was already out there. I just saw the genius in it. And the whole class was looking at it, and they were snickering and whatever, and they were pointing out the fact that he got 9 times 10 wrong. And he says, great, I'm glad you guys acknowledged that, because I want you to realize the lesson here. You could do all these things right, but they're all going to focus on the one thing that you did wrong, right?
Yep.
In other words, he got 9 through 9, perfect. It was that last one that was wrong, and that's all anybody cared about, right? And so that's what we do in our lives. We have all these things that work out the way we expected it, but we have like maybe one thing that didn't go the way we thought it should have gone, and then suddenly it's like, oh man, this is horrible. This is, and that's that's dangerous.
Well, Trinity, the reason I got that is because as a kid, that's the part that the outside world always used to tell me about. You know, my teacher, I used to get in so much trouble at school. I mean, I was never okay in classes. I got in trouble every day. Oh my God, I've been kicked out of so many classrooms and classes in schools. So it was just always problematic. So instead of, and I always wanted to, and I always try to explain to them that I wasn't as guilty as they were saying I am, or I wasn't as bad as they were saying, always giving an excuse. But what I didn't realize is that all that was programming, and it programmed me to think like that about myself. Right. So then I go out in the real world, and then my head keeps doing it. No, I'm not going to do that. Boom. You have to actively work on changing some of the stuff that you were initially programmed to do. And I started loving myself and talking more positive to myself and stopped allowing all those teachers and principals and police officers and everybody else that ever, I felt unjustifiably unjustifiable, that I felt like they were harassing me. And then what I realized is, wow, as soon as I started loving myself more and started behaving differently, the whole world started behaving differently, Trinity. Everybody started treating me nice. The whole world hasn't changed, Trinity. It's not like everybody got all of a sudden nicer in the world. People are still people. The difference is me. So like when people give me their family problems, they tell me, you don't know my mother. I said, listen, man, there was a time where I looked at my mom like she was Hitler. Don't get me wrong. It looked like, oh, she was Hitler. And my mom didn't have to change. I changed. And as I changed and I started loving her for who she was, not for who she wasn't or who I wanted her to be, as soon as I understood her for who she was and accepted her for who she was, because after all, that's what I was asking her to do, right? I was asking her to accept me the way I was, but I wasn't doing that with her. So as soon as I started showing the behavior that I wanted and showing the attitude that I wanted, boom, my relationship with my mom better, relationship with brother better, hell, my relationship with all of society better. And that's phenomenal, to the point where yesterday I'm sitting in the Seminole County Sheriff's Office working on a plan and understanding for Marion County, Seminole County, Orange County. I'm working on all these things. I'm thinking, who would have ever thought? Me, a guy that loved criminal thinking, loved the criminal activity that I was doing. I'm sitting here in the sheriff's office actually inspiring hope and helping them have a better system. That's phenomenal, Trinity. And that's all simply because of me hoping for me. That's it.
Yeah, well, it just makes things better. Like, I can't think of a single situation where the opposite makes it better, right? Like, hope and apathy, or excuse me, anger and apathy. I can't think of a single situation where like that's the solution, right? Like, hey, we're stuck in this thing. How do we get out of here? I know. Let's all get angry and apathetic. No, that never makes the situation better.
It's because we think it's cool, Trinity. Just like you said it many times. You said, man, since when did speaking incorrectly, acting a fool become cool?
Yeah.
How did that become the cool thing? And that our children want to emulate these individuals that are just so friggin' ignorant. Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute. You're right. Because look, I've said a million times, where are all the cool kids at? You know where the cool kids are at? Prison. Prison's so
exactly.
Cool. Man, everyone in prison is cool. They'll tell you how cool they are. They'll walk a certain way. They'll show you they're cool. They'll wear their clothing in prison like they're cool. They'll interact like they're cool. Hell, when they come out of jail, we even treat them like they're cool. Oh man, you've been in prison, man. That's a cool brother. It's all cool. Yeah. But the persons that did the right thing, that looks kind of nerdy, does all the right things, the Bill Gates, he's not cool. Yeah. What the hell's wrong with us?
Yeah, that's the problem. I'll never understand that.
All the corny and dorky stuff is really what we need to be promoting as cool. Yeah. And yet we continue to promote the jail mentality and jail activity and jail behavior is cool. Well, that's the sad thing. Man.
Well, here's an example, right? To say why, like the Hope-a-thon, that means so much to me personally, right? Just the thought of it. I've seen it with my own eyes, right? Like, I could go through countless examples of in our own personal lives with our kids, our neighbors, our loved ones, and how we've seen we hope something turned out, and it did. But obviously, at the top of the show, we tried to talk about the Hope-a-thon that we're coming up, and so I'm going to touch on that for a second.
Okay.
The reason why I have, being a normie, that I've attached myself to the recovery world the way I have and completely changed all my thoughts and perspectives is because I've watched it firsthand, right? I've got to know people, I met them, and some of the coolest human beings I've ever met in my life have been struggling with recovery, right? But, and this is where I've got to thank you for being my first introduction into this world, right? Because had it not been for coming across someone with your mentality, I could have very easily been jaded or turned another way. But I've watched you so many times say that people need to be given another chance. And I'm talking, I've seen individuals together who've been in both of our groups and things of that nature who, man, dude, I'm like the history, the story that they come from or the things that they've been exposed to or even did themselves are very close to that person. We're like, whoa, you got the worst. Like some really bad and atrocious things that nobody should ever experience and nobody should ever do to somebody else. And they've been to like 10, 11, 12 treatment centers. Their family hates them. Their family is disgusted with the behavior and has nothing positive to say. Other counselors are like, dude, I gave up on them or whatever. And I can't tell you how many people I've met personally who've either looked to one of us, if not both of us, who said, you know what? Everybody gave up on me, man. I was ready to give up on myself too. It was my 13th time in rehab. But you know what? You believed in me. You gave me hope. You told me that it could be different. And now I got my life back. I got my kids back. I just finished school, and by all barometers, they're a success. They are just amazing. And so to see what they came through to where they're at now, I don't know how it couldn't inspire hope for somebody. But then to realize that one of the main reasons why they did that is because somebody had hope in them. Like that is powerful, dude.
Yeah.
That is why I've fallen in love with this particular niche, I guess, is because to see how powerful and impactful hope can be and just treating people correctly and expecting something out of them, it's amazing. It really, truly is. It is, because I have seen it, right? Like I was new to that world, man, and there's been a few people I've seen that I've even told you to the side, like, man, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure where that's going to go. And I didn't really have a whole lot of hope. And then to find out years later that they're doing amazing, like that is amazing to watch and see. And that is why I am such a believer in hope, because hope is where it's at, man. It really is. Like how can we live in today's world and see all the beautiful things that we see and not have hope? Like if you choose to not have hope, man, I feel bad for you. And I can't imagine living a life every day without having hope that things are
Yeah.
going to get better or things are going to be amazing or whatever, because it really truly is, man. Like
Right.
it's a beautiful thing.
Right. And you can't have ugly without beauty.
Yep.
So if you see ugly out there and if you hear ugly, well, the balance of life and the balance of the world proves that beautiful and ugly coexist.
Yeah.
So that means that you just have to keep it moving. You're just not in the right spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're in an ugly spot, keep it moving. Don't
Yeah.
get stuck there. A lot of times we get stuck there. We get stuck in a situation with certain people, whether it be your family, whether it be your friends, whether it be whatever it is, your town, city. I used to get told geographical changes don't work. The hell they don't. They
Right.
work for me. Now
Right.
I know you follow you. I followed me. But but without that geographical change that I did, I would have never met Dana. And Dana became a very, very instrumental part of me changing. And plus, I came to an area that didn't know me, so I was able to. It took down a lot of barriers. I didn't have to redefine myself where I was, where
Right.
people already knew how I was. I came to a place where they were judging me only by what I said, or what came out of my mouth, or what they saw. So I had so much opportunity in that. So I'll tell people, listen, you're going to be given a lot of different recommendations. They're only recommendations, you know. So you have to know that nobody has the exact combination on how you are going to get better. Nobody does. But you cannot lose hope that that exists. You just keep on doing different things until you find it. I
Yeah.
can assure you that you will find it, because every time you wake up and you realize, wow, I'm getting another day at this. Okay. All right, let's do this. Fine. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. And that's why I love it. Look, I had my very first sponsor, Trinity, told me, you know, we're not judgmental. Told me all that stuff, right? So finally, he says, you got to share your story with me. You got to tell me a little bit about yourself. And I was hesitant, but I picked him on purpose. He was a biker, and he had the word "fu" on the inside of his lip. So I figured, if anybody's going to accept, some of the stuff that I got to say, it's going to be somebody. I was judging him because of all of his tattoos and the tattoo inside his lip and his aggressiveness and being a biker. So I tell him my story, and he goes, "Man, you're a really piece of shit." I was like, what? So fast forward to my last sponsor that I had, whereas that person didn't care. None of my story bothered him. None of it affected him. And so he was a much more loving person. And what I'm saying is sometimes you come into it thinking, man, I got to get the right response. I didn't get the right response, but you know what? That didn't stop me. I just kept going because I was told, you keep searching. All you need to do is find one person that can believe in yourself before you believe in yourself. And just find that person. All you got to do is find that
Yeah.
one. Just keep on moving the rest aside. You found one that's negative. You found one that you don't like. Keep moving. And I found them. And then those multiplied. And
Yeah.
here we are today. What are we doing? We're doing the same thing over and over again. So
Yeah, well, and I want to make a comment real quick. Well, first and foremost, Tina, I'm going to address what you said, but I don't want to lose my thought that I had, so I'll
sure.
address that in a second.
Go
But
like this. Go like that.
exactly, I thought about doing that. So the other word I think that we can substitute if it makes people feel more comfortable is faith, right? Hope is really just faith. You have faith in the idea that things are going to work out, and so if that word makes you feel more comfortable, by all means.
my favorite
And
F word.
right, and I'm going to go on a limb here, right? And for anybody who's listening to this who doesn't think maybe that they're capable of having hope anymore, like, oh, I can't. I'm going to call bullshit. And what I mean by that is, do you have moments in your day where you get upset and frustrated at things? That by definition means that you had hope. There was a part of you that hoped it was going to be different, which is why you're upset that it didn't turn out the way it happened. You
Right.
hoped and believed and had faith that it was going to turn out a certain way. It didn't, so then you got upset that it didn't. But the
Right.
fact that you thought it was going to means you had hope. Because you
Right.
could have probably come up with a million reasons why it wouldn't work out that way, but you still were holding out hope or faith that it was going to turn this way. But because it didn't, you got upset, you got frustrated, you got angry. But you're only getting angry because you had faith and hope that it was going to turn out a certain way. Some might call that expectations, even. So not only did you have hope, you expected it to turn out a certain way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
argue that you do have the ability to have hope. It's easier and sometimes than others, but it's always worth it, right? And to
Right.
address Tina, Tina, she said, I'm in an ugly spot, lost career and become unemployable. So don't really know my own meaning and purpose. Need help to get those and get better. Thanks for your inspiration, Tina. I'm not going to say you're unemployable. Nobody's unemployable. There's people out there who I mean, everybody is employable.
I respect that.
Yeah, I would say everybody's employable. It might not necessarily be the job that you're immediately searching for, but you are employable. But where the hope comes in is somebody's going to see that, number one, and number two, you can always make yourself more employable, right? You can
Right.
always gain skills that are will appeal to other employers and things of that nature, or you can always start your own, right? It's always a possibility if you're self motivated or whatever. But that's where the hope comes in. We live in a society, we live in a country where we can always come back and rebound no matter how bad it
Right.
gets. I can't imagine, being in a situation where you're losing your career and you're kind of stuck. I can't imagine how much that sucks for you, but it can always get better because you're not the only person that's been in that situation. There's been many of people, and even you yourself. I guarantee you've had moments in your life where you got knocked down, but you always got back up. This is just another one of those examples. But you are definitely employable because everybody is. Go ahead, man. I know you
I got a
wanted to.
response to that because Tina, I remember when you didn't have the position that you've lost, and I remember you thinking that you weren't going to be able to get that position and how impossible it was going to be able to become what you became, and you did. You beat all the odds, you beat all the statistics, and you did it. You did it when you absolutely tried to convince me that you would never get it, but you did. So here's the next thing. It just, if it wasn't for you, is because that's what you wanted. It wasn't necessarily uh, going to be your life mission, but you wanted it so bad you went out and got it. But it may not have been what was best for you. What's probably best for you is there's things called peer recovery support specialists and things like that. Do you know what those are? Those are individuals who have lived through the pain, who've gone through the pain, who've had these ailments, and yet they're there for other people, not judge them and not be negative, but instead be positive, good forces for them to make it out of difficult situations. So now you take the skill sets that you've learned in that other position that you had, and that intelligence that you obviously have, and that perseverance that you obviously have, because you went through some of the most difficult schooling even imaginable and you succeeded in it. Therefore, that tells me that you can easily switch it over to maybe something else that maybe is a lot more in your wheelhouse and your skill set in a different way. I would definitely hope that you accept that, accept the mission that you've been given, accept the passion that you've been given. But more importantly, you take all of those frustrations and your life struggles and you make them meaningful by finding the other Tinas of the world that will look at you and go, I can't, I won't, it'll never happen for me. And you can look at them and say, look at me, girl, look at me, look what I've done. I made it happen, and I'm here for you right now. So boom, take the experiences. That was your university level. You thought you were going to school for that other thing. You thought you were going to school for that piece of paper and that license and stuff like that. That's not what you were going to school for. You were going to school for this moment right now. You were going to school for exactly who you are right now. That's what you have to figure out, is what does that mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know her, but I agree 100%. I mean, just taking our own situations, right? Like one of the reasons why I got into and I enjoyed so much the pay program that we used to do, right,
Yeah.
is we're both literally here talking, different specific circumstances, but the same overall thing. You and I are both able to be here, and I'd like to think we've both been in positions where we've touched people's lives.
Yeah.
only because somebody at some point had some sort of hope or faith that we would get it turned around,
Yeah.
right? Like, in my own specific circumstance, I was a little prick, man. Like, I was angry at the world, and I was involved in everything illegal that I shouldn't have been involved in, and I finally got caught doing one of those things. And this
Yeah.
dude had every reason to throw the book at me. I victimized him and his family, and he could have very easily been like, "This little shit, make him pay." He could have looked at me as just basically this little devil that's ruining his life right now. But instead, no clue why. And once again, I'll say it. I've said it before. If anybody knows a Dean Boggs that used to live in Orlando, please, I'd like to talk to this dude. It was his hope. It was his faith that, you know what, maybe this kid is just kind of angry at the world. Maybe he just needs somebody to be cool with him or somebody to believe in him or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let him go. I'm going to not press charges. I'm going to allow this kid to use this as a teaching moment. And I don't think he was doing that just because he was bored. I think he had hope. I think he might have saw something in me that, there was I don't know what his decision making process was, but I know it was surrounded by hope. Because if it was just factual, there's no reason why he shouldn't have pressed charges, and I would have been in jail until I was over the age of 30. But because he showed some hope, he allowed me to be like, wow, you know what? Maybe there are. Because I was such an angry little prick, man. If he would have pressed charges, it would just reaffirm to my head, screw the world, they're all mean, I need to be tougher, is basically how I would have responded. But the fact that he showed me some kindness, and he actually believed in me more than I thought I believed in myself at the time, it enabled me to prosper and be who I am today. And it all started just from one stupid little decision in his mind of, I'll let him go. I won't press charges. And that was hope from his perspective that I'll get it turned around. I don't think if he thought that I was truly going to be this just horrible criminal, he would have done that. I think he had somewhere in him hope that I would be different. And then it inspired hope in me. It inspired hope in me that, you know what, maybe I don't have to live this life. Maybe I can just, finally get my act together and stop doing these illegal things. And it did. And it was through those experiences that enables me to try to give hope to other people because I've seen it. I've lived it myself. I've seen other people do it. And on varying degrees, right? Just something as simple as, my kids when they first walked, right? They tried so many times, but I still had hope and faith that they're going to get it this next time, or potty training, or whatever it might be, and they did. All the way to the other end of the extreme, where I've seen people going through 20 something treatment facilities and still just doesn't get it, and then 5 years later they're clean and sober. So I've seen it on both ends of the spectrums, and I lived it. So hope is freaking badass, man. Like, hope is just, there's nothing better than hope, dude. It just brings a smile to my face. It really does. And I really hope that there's somebody out there watching right now who's struggling to find hope, or who maybe doesn't see the value in hope, that something either we've said or something they read, or this opens up to hear something later that gets it, that says, you know what, yeah, I think I want to have hope. Hope just feels better. I'm going to choose hope over angry and despair.
And that's why the Hope-a-thon, man. That's why the
Yeah.
Hope-a-thon, September 26th, man. I'm gonna give it another plug right now because
Yeah.
it's the perfect time to do it. September 26th, we're gonna have a 24-hour live stream message of hope. And even though it's birth out of addiction, recovery, and remission, real remission, it doesn't mean that it doesn't relate to if you're suffering depression, anxiety, you're going through divorce, you're going through some other pain. It's all related. Hope is still hope, regardless. You know what I mean? We all can relate to it. There's nobody out there that can't relate to these messages that we're going to show. What I can assure you is during this stream-a-thon, the Hope-a-thon and virtual recovery walk 2020, I can assure you we're not going to show the death and despair, the overdoses and all that. That's not what this is going to be about. This is instead only going to be about positive messaging and show you that we do recover. We do live in remission, and we're everywhere. And so I encourage other people to recover out loud with me, and to spread messages of hope with me. It's just too easy to get sucked into all the stuff that's going on in the world, Trinity. Nobody's right. I guarantee you, I don't care which side you think you're on. I don't care if you're blue or red. Nobody's right in this.
As you're
You know,
talking, just so everybody knows, on the stream, on the picture, I just put the flyer up so everybody can see it. I put one of them
oh,
up.
great, great.
It's the Hope-a-thon. Right there's all the information for you guys. By all means, we would love support, any input you guys have. If you
Yeah.
got the leg in on somebody you think needs to be heard that can be a part of this, reach out to one of us, and you
Uh,
you might see them on the stream. You never know.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go to info@thehopeathon.com, info@thehopeathon.com, send an email and says, I want to be a part of it. How can I be a part of it? And you will. Everybody can be a part of it. You can record a message today. You can record yourself walking today, your way, wherever you walk. You can record a song that you sing today, a comedy routine you do today, you painting today, as long as you put some messages of hope along with it and, and put a few words that we need you to say within it, then boom. Done. You did it, and we'll air it that day. It's going to be 24 hours of airtime. That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of content, man.
Trini, let me get back to that. All right. So enough of that for a second. So I'm sleeping this morning, right? And I wake up like, I don't know, like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And my eyes wake up and I'm like, ah. And I'm sitting there and I'm all tired, but I'm not tired, right? I'm tired, but not tired. And I'm thinking, I can barely stay up for 12 hours these days. How in the hell am I going to stay up for 24 hours and be live streaming for 24 hours, or available at least, because I'm obviously not going to be speaking the whole time. I'll be showing videos. I'm going to be showing this and that. There's a lot of people that are going to be on throughout the 24-hour period, but yet I'm still going to be awake that whole 24 hours. Trinity, how?
I don't know, Grandpa. I have no clue. I don't think Dana will have a problem doing it, but I think you might.
I'm going to I'm going to I'm going to need to perfect the art of napping in 15-second increments.
Right, cat naps. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Leo said Mountain Dew and Mr. Goodbar.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
Marissa, you're definitely going to be a part of it, so
yeah,
please,
absolutely.
know that. And
So
yeah, you're right, Leo.
we only got a few
Caffeine,
more
yeah.
minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and give you your screen time here. Any wrap ups you want to do for Hope?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're running out of
Well,
time, man. It went by
uh,
fast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as final moments for hope is concerned, it's just, the key figure to never give up on is you. The key figure to understand is you. Look around you. The fact that you're still standing right now and still breathing right now means there's so much to the organism that you are that believes in you. I mean, you psychologically may not always believe in you. You psychologically may not even always believe in the outside world, but you as a total organism, and you are a total package, the part of you that you control and the part of you that you don't control. You're a total package. And that total package of who you are believes in you enough to not just shut off. Look, if you truly lost hope and you truly lost faith in yourself and in this world, you would just not wake up. You would just not be here. And the fact that you are says there's so much more of you that wants to live, survive, and continue along this journey. You need to reach out and talk to somebody about it, then do that. You can do that at 833 Now Matters. Talk to us, talk to somebody else. We'll connect you with somebody. But mostly just look at the facts. The facts are that if you're breathing, your body wants to live, even when sometimes you don't want to. Thank you.
Right on. Very well said. Yeah. So before I do the wrap up, as always, thank you guys for watching and listening. Feel free to share if you think this provides value to somebody. You can check us out on social media. He is at the Dope Doctor. I am at the Dharma Guy. We are at WPSN99. And you can also check us out at Now Matters More. We're available on all social media. We reply pretty often. And like I said, like, subscribe, share. It really does kind of help us out and get the word out for it. And then, yes, we have the Hopeathon coming up on September 26th. You can check us out at thehopeathon.com. We'll be progressively kind of talking more about it if you watch this show or the Couch Live. So you will continuously get updates on that. And if you're already friends with us on Facebook, you either already have or will be getting an invite soon, I'm sure. So anyways, so back to Hope and kind of giving some tips here. Once again, this is the segment where I try to give you some action plans, I guess, on how to really apply what we've talked about today. And so the first tip that I'm going to give is Hope is a great motivator, man. Hope really is a great motivator. Matter of fact, I would probably call it the motivator, right? Because motivates us is the hope of getting whatever that is that we want. So if you're struggling with some things, why not try Hope? Give it on, try it on for size and see if you like it, because you might notice that just the hope alone will give you what it takes to get to that goal or that achievement. Tina, I'm gonna personalize this to you. it's a difficult situation for anybody for sure. But I bet you if you start to hope for better and you start to actually believe that it's true, you'll start to notice it's easier to make those steps necessary to get to that end goal. And then you'll look back on it thinking, man, I can't believe I ever struggled with that. Like I can't, it was such a great opportunity for me. The second tip here, I'll say, is hope should be about positivity. And what I mean by that is hoping somebody gets what's coming to them or hoping something bad happens to somebody else. That's not the kind of hope we're talking about. We're talking about positive hope here. We're talking about things that are going to work out. Faith in the goodness of the world, right? The faith in the goodness of us and other people, that things are going to just work out. Because they almost always do, right? As a matter of fact, I would argue that it always works out the way it was supposed to. It doesn't always work out the way we envisioned it or the constraints that we put it on it, but it always works out the way it was supposed to. And so, keep in mind, hope should be a positive force in your life, not a negative. Which leads me to my third tip, and the third tip being, try not to make your hope revolving around other people's behavior or other people's actions. Meaning, I hope this person comes around. I hope this person learns, or I hope. It's nice to have those thoughts, but that's not the essence of hope. Essence of hope is I hope things themselves works out. I hope I'm able to achieve whatever it is I'm hoping to achieve. I'm hoping I'm able to rise to the level that I need to. I'm hoping that society gets better, not the opposite of that. And so I think for me, those are the three tips I would kind of focus your energy on moving forward, on how to apply what we're talking about today. Just keep in mind, hope is a positive force. Hope should be a great motivator for you and people around you, and try not to make it contingent upon somebody else's behavior, essentially. So that's all we got for today. I hope you guys had a good one and tuned in. Make sure you check us out on Friday from 12 to 1. We'll be doing the Couch Live. And then, of course, next week we'll be here doing some more Dharma Time for you. So anyways, now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.